Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Kneel Before Zod issue 3 by Joe Casey and Dan McDade. The war for New Kandor begins as the Khund launch an all-out assault on Zod and his people. After the planning Zod and Ursa did in the last issue, we get right into the action right from page 1 as Zod and Ursa split up to cover the entire planet, with Zod off holding the front lines while Ursa secures the city. In those first two issues, we had a Zod who was a little bit more unsure of his place in the universe now that he had everything he wanted. He had achieved everything he wanted in life. It was a very King Conan way to take the character. And I love Joe's done a big shift here with Zod's character, as now he's back in war. He's been thrust back into a war he didn't want to have. And it's a place where he thrives. And it's just the good old General Zod that we've seen many times before. The conversation that he and Ursa had at the end of the last issue as well continues into the pages of this book, as Ursa is quick to remind Zod not to dive too deeply back into war and remember that he is fighting a battle on multiple fronts. Zod, Ursa and their forces make quick work of most of the Khund, and Joe gives Dan McDade space to just show off his fantastic artwork, with Dan filling the pages with bright explosions and Khunds getting their heads and arms and legs ripped off, or Zod just incinerating entire armies with his heat vision. Basically just giving us a glimpse of what would happen if we had some Kryptonians whose power was kind of unfettered and they were just let loose on the universe. Eventually though, the Khund decide to unleash the Chemiclips device, a special weapon which will fire a missile at New Kandor's sun and turn it into a red sun for a short period of time, long enough for the Khund to deal with the unpowered Zod and Ursa and take the planet. The weapon is fired and Zod and Ursa lose their powers, but being that they are warriors, they don't really need the powers to lay down a beating on the Khund. We get a great sequence of Ursa surrounded in the city, and she decides to just use Kryptonian Kung Fu, all while Zod is on the outskirts and is beaten to a pulp by a gang of Khund. There's a great dichotomy here, with Ursa having evolved to train herself in case their powers are lost, so she knows all these different hand-to-hand combat techniques and other combat techniques, whereas Zod, because of his arrogance, hasn't even entertained the fact, it's below Zod to basically think that he could ever lose his powers, and it leads to him being beaten up, and it's only by pure luck that the Khund want to try and make him suffer, and they sort of beat him around for long enough that his powers start coming back because the red sun starts to fade, and it leads to them having to retreat because they weren't able to kill him. These constant attacks on Zod prevent him from returning to the city in due time, and when his powers finally come back and everything sort of dies down, does he return to the city, only to find it filled with dead Khund as well as a dead Ursa. This was a swerve I never expected the book to take, killing Ursula off in the third issue, and after it was revealed that she was pregnant with Zod's next child as well. Obviously this is a story beat that's going to be used to thrust Zod into sort of a revenge mode, or sort of like an old Zod mode where he just goes and just wreaks havoc across the universe. But I'm more interested in that if, thanks to his changed frame of mind that Joe has built over the character in these first 3 issues, will we have the opposite effect of that and he'll just double down on hiding away his planet, or at least keeping it hidden away from all-out attacks with the super weapon he has built. Either way, I'm excited to see where Joe and Dan take the character, since so far he's batting 3 for 3 with Zod's story right now. It's been really cool to see this character go from just this kind of meathead general guy who's all about war to someone who's a little bit more deep. And as I said before, there's these great King Conan parallels of this character who has everything he's wanted but now feels he is missing something, and because he has everything he wants, he has nothing left and he doesn't know what to do with himself. Kneel Before Zod was just all-out action, relying heavily on Dan McDade's wonderfully brutal and bloody artwork while suitably building on Joe's wonderful new characterization of Zod and Ursa, culminating in a third act twist that puts the story in a position to go literally anywhere, and I'm excited to find out where it goes. I'm going to give this issue a 9.5 out of 10.